Okay, all right. Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Cohen. This is Module 2, Bike Setup and Safety to Prepare for the Vermont Overland. In Module 1, we talked about the variety of surfaces that the course covers, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about how you can prepare yourself and your bike to be ready to take on the race. So I'm going to talk you through my bike setup, and my bike setup is really specific to how I ride and race. I am a competitive rider, but I'm not the most competitive rider out there. So you're going to see a bike setup that is for someone who is looking to be near the pointy end of the race, but I have one bike, and so these are the adjustments that I make to my bike to get it ready to race the Overland. So there's a really wide range of things that you can do to prepare your bike to meet your goals on race day. You might make a couple small adjustments, such as adding a bag that maybe you don't typically ride with so that you're prepared for the full distance. You might also choose to make a different selection in terms of tires. You might also think about the gearing that's on your bike. But just know that some people show up to ride the Overland making almost no changes to the bike that they ride the other 364 days a year. And some people make a lot of adjustments based on the goals that they have for themselves and that day. So this module is not going to endorse any particular product. We're really just going to educate you surrounding some of the different options that you have in terms of fine-tuning your setup for race day. But we would highly recommend that you go to your local bike shop and talk through the race that you're doing, the kind of rider that you are, the goals and ambitions that you have for your Vermont Overland, and let them talk to you about the specifics of brands and sizes that you might make to fine-tune the bike that you have. All right, so let's start with the hottest topic. A lot of people are concerned about what tires they're going to race on race day. And we generally think of the range for the Vermont Overland being somewhere in between a size 32 and 42. I personally ride these Vittoria Torino Dries. These are a size 38, and I find that they roll really, really nicely on the gravel roads, the dirt roads that we have, but then they also have file tread here to allow for some extra grip when I'm cornering, and particularly when I'm ascending and descending the Class 4 sections. I would definitely recommend considering setting up your bike to run tubeless tires. So if you haven't ever explored that, this might be a great time to talk to your local shop or talk to some friends about learning how to set your bike up tubeless so that you're able to minimize issues that you might encounter with some minor punctures on race day. Tubeless really allows the bike to kind of fix itself while it's in motion. So tubeless is absolutely the way to go. So another thing to consider is your tire pressure for race day. This is also a great thing to start testing out a few weeks before the race. Personally, I think about my own weight and a tire pressure that's going to allow me to absorb the larger features. I definitely don't want to be so low that I'm hitting the rim, but I also don't want my tires to be bouncing off of every little pebble in the road. So the way that shakes out for me as someone who's about 115, 120 pounds is about 35 pounds per square inch in these 38C tires. So a great way to find out what's good for you is just go out and test a couple different tire pressures. Inflate them much higher than you think that you might, and get a feel for what it's like to have too much air in your tires on a training ride. And then go a little bit on the lighter side and feel what that feels like as well, so that you can help yourself figure out what's the happy medium for you. The other thing that folks often ask about in preparing for the Overland is how to choose a gear ratio that's going to allow you to keep pedaling and spinning up the really steep sections. This is an aspect of the Overland that is pretty unique, is that there are sections of the course where you're going to want to be in a low enough gear that you can keep pedaling even up some pretty steep terrain. So that's another great thing to talk with your bike shop ahead of time about, is selecting a gear ratio that's gonna allow you to drop down into a low enough gear so that you're really able to keep the momentum going up some very, very steep sections of trail and course. Oftentimes the jargon surrounding choosing a gear ratio can be really intimidating. But the terminology that you want to use when you go into your bike shop is first and foremost to tell them that you're doing the Vermont Overland and that you want at least a 1-to-1 gear ratio. You don't need to know what that means, though your bike shop definitely will, and they'll be able to help set you up for success. So another unique aspect of the Vermont Overland is that the course is unmarked, which makes it absolutely essential to have the route ready to go on your head unit. I use a Wahoo Roam, and I will load the route at least a day in advance of the race and be sure that it's there and easy and ready to access on the morning of the race. I don't want to be scrambling for Wi-Fi and looking to call it up. I want to be sure that I've practiced, make sure it's there. Even though I've done the Vermont Overland many, many, many times, I'm going to read my emails really closely in the days leading up to the event and be sure that I've downloaded the most recent version of the route and have it ready to go on my head unit. So as a rider, I like to have it programmed to the screen where I can follow the dotted line for where the route goes. We use Ride with GPS, which allows turn-by-turn navigation. So popping up on my screen is going to alert me to the turns as I come upon them, which is really helpful for managing my speed and knowing when I want to be prepared to make a left or right-hand turn on the course. So one tip I have to make your ride experience really lovely on race day is to be sure that you've downloaded the most recent official route that's been shared to the email address that you registered for the race with. So every year, the race director, Ansel, puts in customized turn-by-turn directions that are only loaded into the Ride with GPS route. So you want to be sure that you're getting the 2023 official Vermont Overland route downloaded onto your unit. That's not only going to give you turn-by-turn, but it's also going to alert you to things like you're entering the first class 4. You're departing the first class 4. Congratulations. It's also going to alert you when there's an aid station ahead or when you're approaching an intersection. So again, it's absolutely essential to have the best day possible, to download the route ahead of time and have it ready to go on your head unit. If you don't have a head unit, not a problem. You can download the route to the Ride with GPS app on your phone, and between following other riders and stopping occasionally to check the route, you'll stay on target for the completion of the race. And if you're super old school and you don't have a cell phone, we'll have some printed cue sheets, and we might recommend that you bring a buddy as well. All right, the other thing that I want to show you is the spare kit that I ride with anytime I'm out for a ride, and particularly on race day. I always have a spare kit with me because I've flatted in races before, and if I've invested the time and resources to go to a race, I want to do everything possible to be able to complete the distance that I've set out for on race day. So I keep my spare kit here strapped right to the back of my saddle, and I'm going to take it off and we'll go through what's inside. So inside my spare kit, I have a tube. Even though I'm running tubeless tires, there's a chance that I'll get a puncture that requires I actually put a tube in my tire and inflate it so that I'm able to complete the race. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to carry a multi-tool. I'm going to carry at least 1 or 2 CO2 canisters to be able to inflate my tire. I'm going to carry some tire levers in here as well. And I'm also going to carry a couple plugs and bacon strips to be able to make some repairs to my tire if in fact I do encounter a puncture flat. So if you're not already carrying a kit like this, another great thing to go to your bike shop and ask about. Oftentimes local bike shops will offer fix-a-flat clinics, so pay attention to the offerings of your local bike shop and see if they're offering anything like that this summer. And if they're not, you can always recommend that they host an evening where they teach their community members how to fix a flat. If you've never fixed a flat before, the weeks leading up to the race is a great time to practice. We recommend that you've practiced fixing a flat and not showing up to race day having never done it before. That said, there's neutral support out on course that is more than happy to help you if you find yourself in a situation where you need to fix a flat tire. Also, you'll encounter, in the unfortunate circumstance that you do have a flat, lots of riders will be very friendly and will pass by and say, "Hey, can I help you out?" Feel free to take them up on that. I've certainly done that in many races. I know there's no way that the CO2 could explode on me, but I'm always nervous that when I'm wrestling with it, it's gonna All right, so that covers what I keep in the repair kit, but oftentimes riders will also considering having some other kind of bag system with them on race day. I personally put everything that I'm gonna use during the race in my back pocket. So that includes my race nutrition, that includes my phone, and anything else that I think I might need on race day. But you have a lot of options in terms of some additional add-ons. So oftentimes riders will report really enjoying some kind of small bag that allows them pretty easy access to their snacks. I love this top tube bag and would certainly recommend having something like this that you can really easily reach into to access your snacks over the course of the day. Other options that might work for you are a feed bag such as this one. You can even put an additional water bottle in here along with some snacks. And then if you wanted something even bigger to allow for maybe a jacket, another extra layer, more food, something like that, you might consider a handlebar bag that would even increase your ability to carry more for the day. Bag selection really depends on how long you think you're gonna be out on course. I personally am usually out on course for around 4 hours and can get away with what is in my back pockets. But again, thinking about the goals that you have and what might make you most comfortable over the course of the day, that can help you think about the different options that are available to you for bags and what's gonna be best for you as a rider. One other thing that I would consider adding, if you don't have one already, is a rear light. When you're out riding, training, out on any kind of road, a rear light is really essential for safety, and I absolutely race with one as well. This just helps other riders see me and absolutely helps given the open road nature of the Vermont Overland and lots of other gravel races. So bike safety is really important, and a great way to be sure that your equipment is safe and ready for race day is just to take your bike into your local bike shop and say that you're doing an event and you'd like to have just a basic overview, quick tune-up before the race day. A couple things I always check on the morning of the event. I want to be sure that my wheels are spinning freely. I also want to be sure that my skewers are nice and tight here, so I'm going to make sure that nothing here on my front wheel is loose. I'm also going to want to be sure that both of my brakes are engaging and that everything around my handlebars is nice and tight and ready to go. Also want to make sure that my saddle is nice and tight and that's not going to come loose during the event. So some key takeaways from module number 2, bike setup, are to remember that every selection that you have to make regarding your particular ride is going to be customized to you as a rider. So get into your local bike shop and have a conversation about your tire selection, about your gear ratio. Know that no bike is the perfect bike and every bike is the perfect bike. Every decision that you make is for you as a rider and ensuring that you're going to have the best experience possible. So don't stress out about it too much, but know that you just want to be comfortable for the amount of time that you're planning to be out there on race day. So thanks for watching module number 2. In video number 3, we'll be talking about nutrition and preparation for race day for you and your body. See you soon.